Hi guys, welcome to this video in the series Java Tutorials for Beginners. In this video we're going to be looking at variables. So basically a variable is something that can store a value. So that could be the price of something, it could be a quantity or a state, like a true or false state. We're going to demonstrate variables by creating a new class. We're going to call it myItem, and we're going to double click on the class, select all the code, delete it, and let's write it from scratch. So we'll say public class myItem, opening and closing curly brace, public myItem, parentheses, opening curly brace, closing curly brace. We're going to have two methods, so we're going to say public int get value, and we're going to have another method, public int process value. So variables in Java, we can split them into three main types. So we've got fields, and a field is basically something that represents part of an object as a whole, as part of the object in general. So we can declare a field as private int value. So we've got a field called value. It's private, and this is an access modifier. So basically it means that this variable, this field, is only accessible within the current class. It's only accessible within myItem. Int is a data type. Basically it means integer, so a whole number. But I'll talk more about data types in the next video. So now that we've declared it, let's instantiate it and say value equals 100. And in this get value, we'll just also return the value. So now let's demonstrate a local variable. So a local variable is basically something that is a variable that you would use within a method or a constructor. So if we say something like int local value equals 250, and then we return value. So notice the difference here, that we have local variable and we are declaring it and instantiating it on one line. So with local variables, this is more common. I mean, you can do the same thing here. You can just basically write equals 100 after this value, but it's generally better practice to declare and instantiate separately for a field, whereas it's more common to instantiate and declare for a local variable on the same line. So another important point to make as well is that local value, since this is a local variable within process value, it can only be accessed within process value. You can't access it from this get value method or the constructor, whereas this field value can be accessed from within the constructor, can be accessed from within here as it is being, and it can also be accessed within here. So if I just call that local value. And one other point as well is that if we talk about the lifetime of a variable, so if we were to say that when I say lifetime, it's how long that variable can actually be used for. So in terms of a field, the lifetime depends on the lifetime of the object that it's within, whereas the lifetime of a local variable depends on the method that it's within. So however long the method is executed for, that is the lifetime of this local variable, local value. So let's now demonstrate let's actually just demonstrate this. So if I just quickly go out of this and so if I just go out of this, compile and create an instance. So let's just return the value. So we can get value, we know that returns 100, and process value is going to return our local variable of 250. So let's move on now to the third and final type of variable, which is the parameter. So we can say something like, if we if we give a parameter to the constructor, my item, and we say something like int value, so you'll notice here that I'm using value, which is also the name of the field here. So if I was to say here value, my intention here is that when we instantiate the constructor, we are supplying a variable, like a value, to this variable here, which is then going to be passed to this field value. But because they're the same name, obviously this is going to cause some confusion. So one way to do this would be to have something like input value and rename this one to input value. The other thing that we can do is, if we want them to be the same name, in front of this value we can say this dot, and this is a keyword in Java. Basically this means, I might actually go into this more in another video, but just to explain that this is basically referring to this current object. So it's saying that this current object's value field, which is this one. So this represents this, and this represents this parameter, this variable. So that will basically mean that whatever's passed here will be passed here and then assigned to this, which will be the field. That's basically it for this video. I'm not going to go into anything else. Thank you very much for watching, and if you did find this video useful, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe.